Hey guys, so today we're gonna be doing some horror films. I will try. I will try to put on my face. Can you see my face now, please? I want to see my. Oh, never mind. I have no idea how it could be in the intro. Too much scariness. I do not want to hear the intro. It's too much for me to be scared of. Now. Dang, lady, why are you scaring your daughter? What's this? Like that. Look at this little key. You scaring her the crap, lady. Sorry, guys, but you're scaring her. What is wrong with you, my lady? What is wrong with you? Scaring your little girl like that? We're gonna watch some. Yeah. These other YouTubers decided to do the same reaction, but I do not have face camera. You know that weird stuff. Oh. What's going on? What? Oh my. That scared me a little. Actually, that really didn't scare me. I feel like this is gonna be this man doing to his mother. Or mother. Dude! What the heck is wrong with you? Dude, she's a woman. Why are you smacking a woman in the head? You killing the poor one. No wonder the mother's obsessed with these weird monstrous creatures. Because they are one of those. That is the only normal human being there. Sorry, I'm recording a bit. Guys. Sorry. I have to get off. What the fuck? What's the same culture? I kind of feel bad for this little girl because she's the only real human being. Sorry. It's a kid-friendly channel. Sorry for saying cuss words. Oh. I would want to die. I would want to die straight up if I have any. Look at that, dude. Look at that. Okay. Here's number 2. There's a man in the woods. Which man, my dude? There's a
man in the woods.
Ooh.
What a spectacle. Before the stories started, this school was still respectable. My students used to skip down the hill to the honeysuckle, pluck a couple, and collect their nectar till they picked their fill. Except one obnoxious kid, Sid, who just watched them eat the flowers while he seethed and scowled because he couldn't bear to share his sweet treats throughout our recess hour.
Actually,
I remember Sid.
I do a little bit too much. Let's start. Oh, it's pretty normal.
There's a man in the woods. What a spectacle. Before the stories started, this school was still respectable. My students used to skip down the hill to the honeysuckle, pluck a couple, and collect their nectar till they picked their fill. Except one obnoxious kid, Sid, who who just watched them eat the flowers while he seethed and scowled because he couldn't bear to share his sweet treats throughout our recess hour. I remember Sid saying, "There's a man in the woods." That's how the rumors began. Of course, Sid had spotted him first. The poor kids. He got him immersed in his spiel about a serial killer whose gun barrel glint hints at peril. A visit to the nurse, or worse, a hearse, waiting just beyond the dale. The children saw him everywhere. "Look, over there. That man had Batman ears. We swear. And crazy yellow eyes. We saw something rusty. His shotgun? It must be. I saw a lady's severed thigh." Trust me, every word I heard was absurd. Yet each day, Sid would stray down way past the playground. Who else was brave enough to save us from the killer's next plot? The rest of the lot would stop back at the blacktop, sure that any closer they were bound to be found deep in the woods, left to rot. I pleaded for the kids to think and learn to be mature, but after a few more rumors doomed my attempts to prove the school was secure, their fear was undeterred, and when the buses drove them all home, the parents finally heard.
What?
Everything just blew up. I received a wall of emails and calls full of shrieks, wails, and all from terrified families who'd heard word of the murderer and didn't like my lack of action at all. What was I supposed to do? Comb the whole forest? Yeah, right. Would you? That means I didn't care? That's not fair. The stories that worried you weren't true. Of course I would feel regret had there been a real threat and I ignored it, and some poor kid got kidnapped while the kids were napping. But you couldn't admit that your good little kid would formulate a fib, so you ignored what I said. Your little angels could never cook up such incredible creations. An overactive imagination maybe, but my kid could never lie. How dare I? Accuse a child of being dishonest? Just monstrous. The parents were displeased, and when the PTA took action, they dismissed me from the classroom. Right, they knew what was best for their kids. Do you know how difficult it is to get a job when a bitter mom slatters your rep with child neglect from the outset? Now who's in control of your classes? Single file lines? Single file lines, little file swine, a killer by the pines. Really? Are you blind? Will you find your spines? Sid, a child decides to fill our minds with lies, and the next thing you see is people treating me like I'm committing crimes. I was in my prime. Those kids were lucky to have me. Do you see what you did? But I can play along. I can be good. Do you hear that, Sid? There's a man in the woods.
Well, the name is, also, I'm just, this one is so tempting me.
The story you're about to hear is one I used to tell everybody. I kept telling it to people over and over, trying to make them listen to me and believe it. But every time I just got skepticism and doubt in return. Eventually, I even stopped believing that it actually happened, and just quit talking about it.
Okay,
until one of my friends came across a video on the internet telling a little boy's story that uncannily resembled mine. About a month ago, I fell into a coma for a short period of time. It happened due to a certain condition I have.
Look at this,
You
guys.
see, I'm paralyzed from the waist down. I was born that way, so it was just kind of normal for me. I mean, I always understood that it's been harder for me than for other people to do certain things, but that was the only life I knew. And I learned to simply accept the hand you're dealt, you know? Anyway, one day as I was rolling my wheelchair down the sidewalk, one of the wheels got stuck. I fell over onto the road and, well, I didn't manage to do anything before it caught me, and I slipped into a coma. When I opened my eyes, I found myself on the ground in a park near the place where I got hit. At least, that's what it looked like at first. Everything around me was quiet, dim, and completely empty. I didn't know how I got there. At that moment, I didn't remember the accident, probably because of how fast it happened. I used my hands to sit up and tried to find my wheelchair. It was nowhere to be seen. And that's when I experienced the weirdest sensation in my whole life. My legs. I could feel them. I tried to move my right leg, and it moved. My left leg moved as well. Almost scared to believe it, I gathered my strength and got on my feet. I cried tears of joy. I made my first step, then another one and another. I walked, gaining confidence with every step. Then I started running. I ran and ran without looking where I was going. It felt incredible, almost like flying. At some point, I tripped and fell on the grass, laughing because of how overwhelmed with emotion I was. As I was lying on the grass, happy as can be, a teenage girl ran over to me. She put a finger over her mouth and shushed me. She seemed really scared. In a heartbeat, I was back on my feet. "Hey, what's wrong?" I started. "Are you trying to get killed?" she whispered in a terrified voice. "What are you talking about?" "Shh!" She didn't let me finish. "What were you thinking? Do you want to get..." She stumbled. "Eaten?" I couldn't hold in a neurotic chuckle, but the girl kept staring at me with fearful, almost insane eyes. "Wait, you're new here, aren't you?" she asked in a weird voice. "What do you mean here?" The girl stood silent for a few seconds, and then she told me the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life. Her name was Jenny Kirkman, and she claimed that she and her parents had been in a car crash. Jenny said that ever since then she was trapped in this place, which she referred to as limbo or nightmare. She started crying, and in a confused voice she repeated, "I just can't wake up, can't wake up." At that point, I was almost certain that she was just crazy. I wanted to do something, at least to calm her down. In a soothing voice, I tried to get more information out of her. "And how long have you been here? We should get help. Try to find your parents." She looked at me with a serious face. "You think I'm insane, don't you?" I tried to deny it, but she stopped me before I managed to open my mouth. "Save it. I know you do. You're not the first one I've met here. They all appear out of nowhere and then they disappear. And I don't know where they go. As for time, it doesn't exist here. Look!" She pulled my wrist and showed my watch. It was frozen at 3:31 p.m. That was weird, but it didn't prove anything. "The battery must have..." I started. She chuckled hysterically and showed me the screen of her smartphone. It showed 1:56 p.m. I stared at it for a while, waiting for the time to change, but it didn't. But that's impossible. There must be some sort of... Oh, come on. Try to remember how you got here." I focused on my memories. They were slowly, unwillingly coming back to me. My wheelchair getting caught, the sound of screeching brakes, the impact. I gasped for air. Confused and overwhelmed, I looked around. The dark, foggy forest was dead quiet. So this is limbo then. Something like that, I guess. Yeah, or a nightmare that you can't wake up from. A horrible thought flashed in my mind. "Wait, what did you say about being eaten?" She shuddered, looking somewhere behind my back. "Run if you don't want to find out firsthand." Jenny ran in the opposite direction. Before I took off after her, I threw a quick glance behind my back. The image that I saw still haunts me. In a distance, there was a lanky, dark figure with a white face and black, hollow eyes,
What the
blood
heck?
drooling out of its mouth,
Oh,
filled
no.
with sharp teeth. That
Oh,
creature
no.
terrified me so much.
Me
I can't even really
too.
describe that feeling. It felt almost as if I was staring death in the face. I ran, following Jenny away from it. Finally, we lost whatever it was and stopped, trying to catch our breath. "What was that?" I asked, still gasping for air. "I don't know, but it's been hunting down and killing people here." "So that's what you meant by people disappearing?" She went silent for a while, but finally answered. "Not just that, some of them simply vanish." "Vanish? But that's impossible," she interrupted. "More impossible than that monster that was just chasing us?" I had nothing to answer to that. Jenny sat down on the ground. She seemed absolutely exhausted, absolutely hopeless. She didn't look like a teenage girl, more like an old woman trapped in a child's body. I had to do something. I started thinking. She said this place was like limbo or a nightmare. And when you're trapped in a nightmare, what should you do to wake up? I jumped to my feet. "Hey, I've got an idea." Together, Jenny and I dug a huge pit. Then we made several big stakes using my pocket knife and placed them on the bottom of the pit facing up. We covered the whole thing with branches, twigs, then leaves and grass. To finish our trap, I tied several big branches together and put my hoodie on top. We put this sort of improvised scarecrow right over the hidden pit. We took a few steps away to check out our work. It seemed surprisingly decent for two amateurs. I looked at Jenny. "Are you ready?" She was pale and shaking, but bravely nodded. "Then it's showtime." We hid in the bushes and started yelling as loud as we could. I can't remember what our exact words were, and it's really not that important. We were just calling out to the monster, encouraging it to come and find us. After a while, it did appear out in the nearby field. We immediately went quiet, almost stopped breathing, horrified that it might actually find us. But it went for the trap. Its black, lanky figure slowly approached the Scarecrow. At some point, it slowed down and stopped, looking at the Scarecrow from a distance. Jenny and I exchanged terrified looks. Did this thing know it was a trap? We didn't have a plan B. We wouldn't know what to do if we got exposed. Well, except we could start running for our lives, hoping that we'd get lucky enough to escape once again. We were almost ready to do that when finally the monster made another step and fell right into the hole. What happened after that is hard to describe. It was fast and unclear. It felt as if a bomb exploded in the pit. A bright white flash blinded us. The explosive sound was almost unbearable, and an air blast flung us to the ground. The next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed. I was back in the real world and back in my wheelchair. At first, that was heartbreaking, but I pushed through it. After all, my real life, with all its difficulties, is infinitely better than that creepy limbo place I was stuck in during my coma. After I saw the little boy's story on the internet that so vividly resembled my own experience, I realized that all of it actually wasn't just my imagination, like doctors and everyone else kept telling me. I decided to find Jenny to make sure she was okay. It took me quite some time. I had to check every Jenny Kirkman on the internet, but yesterday I finally found her. Well, her Facebook account. I looked through a recent post. She seemed so happy and carefree, like a teenage girl should be. I sent her a message only to receive, "Hi, I'm sorry, do I know you?" Apparently, she didn't remember anything that had happened. I apologized and said that I just mistook her for someone else. I couldn't break it to her. I still remembered that old person's despair on her face, and I decided that she doesn't need to know. All that matters is that she's all right. Both of us are.
The sun's going.
Final episode. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and stretch the video out so you have to wait a while before you know how to watch yourself, so I'll just tell you. The last few episodes are literally available on demand for some cable providers. Log into your account and go on demand to see if you can watch Gumball's final episodes along with its official series finale, The Inquisition. But let's actually talk about what went down in this last episode, despite there seemingly not being too much at first. I will be mentioning spoilers, so consider yourself warned. So as I just said, the finale's title is simply The Inquisition, and it's all about School Superintendent Evil coming to Elmore Junior High to stamp out the students' cartoonish ways. Right from the beginning, you can tell he doesn't have the best intentions. I mean, his name is straight up evil, and look at him! He's terrifying! Anyway, The Inquisition pretty much plays out exactly how you'd expect for a typical Amazing World of Gumball episode, which under normal circumstances would be pretty A-okay, considering the average storyline for the show is still fun to watch. But in this specific situation, when we're dealing with the series finale of one of Cartoon Network's most iconic shows, why would everything feel normal? Nothing was really out of place here, and it was just an evil superintendent versus Elmore Junior High students. Well, it seemed that way as the episode continued, but I'm really happy to say that it went in a completely different direction. Once again, I'm about to talk spoilers, so just be ready for that. It turns out that School Superintendent Evil was actually turning the cartoon characters into real-life people, and when you think about those true intentions, it makes a lot of sense. He specifically says that he wants to stamp out cartoonish conduct, and that word choice of cartoon is a hint at breaking the fourth wall, which is so often done throughout Gumball. He wants to change the cartoony bodies and personalities of these characters by turning them into completely normal people who don't belong in a wacky animated show like this.
using them. But the reveal of Superintendent Evil's true plans were absolutely nothing compared to what hit us towards the end of the episode, when his real identity turned out to be none other than Rob. There's been a little subplot going on with him in the last season, and if you've been following my videos or watching every Gumball episode, then you know Rob's role. He was trying to see what would happen in the future by kidnapping Banana Barbara so she would actually paint the future, but that didn't end up working out like he thought. Well, either way, it turns out that Rob knows Gumball is coming to an end because he heavily hinted towards that in the final minute of this episode. He's actually been trying to turn characters into normal people so they can escape into real life and outside the boundaries of this cartoon world. And then one of the most surprising moments is the very final shot when Gumball's world begins its destruction and Rob falls down into a seemingly bottomless pit of static everywhere. This exact painting was revealed by Banana Barbara in the other season 6 episode The Future, along with her directly saying to us, "There is no future." Oh no, it's time. And so, the Inquisition ends, along with the amazing world of Gumball as a whole. Or does it? You see, Gumball's final season, according to the series creator, has 44 episodes. This was episode 44, so is it true that we're done with Elmore for good? Nope, that doesn't make any sense. While I don't think there's gonna be a season 7, this major cliffhanger with Rob opens up the door for a Gumball movie, which could act as a proper series finale, so we could say goodbye to the last show in Cartoon Network's Renaissance era. Rob literally held onto the cliff before falling to the static void. It's the most legit cliffhanger there is. Also, in season 3's episode The Oracle, we get a glimpse of Banana Barbara's painting where the entire Watterson family is running through the void in an absolute panic. As far as I know, this never actually happened, but seeing it in the real series finale of a movie would be the best. Plus, there's all those paintings from the future, along with this guy. Who is it? Is it supposed to be representing School Superintendent Evil? I used to think so, but now I doubt it, considering this guy is way more cartoony and isn't bald like the Superintendent is. He doesn't seem to have gotten an introduction in the series yet, so maybe he'll be the final villain in the upcoming movie. Now, let me be clear, a movie ending this series hasn't been confirmed as of this point, and it's just my guess, but there's no way that the Inquisition's cliffhanger is really the end of this story. We are going to get a proper ending, it's just a matter of time before that's announced. Early last year, even the show's very own creator revealed in a tweet that he has a good idea for a Gumball movie, so maybe we can assume that production began around that time or a bit before. It's not out of the question, and with the story not actually ending in the final episode, there has to be something more. Watch The Inquisition for now, and prepare yourself. A huge finale is on the way. But anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe for more awesome cartoon videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys. Enjoy your vacation. That's wonderful. Lovely.